Hey, we got a cat. This is one of the greatest cats in the world, but today's episode isn't really about cats. By the way, God's Autobiography, episode 25, coming out in the same day as episode 24 because I uploaded the video yesterday, and for the third time now, I didn't switch to public and make a thumbnail. So it looks like two are coming out today. And we are in a closet with Gummy, the greatest fucking cuddler in the world. Yeah, you can learn about the cats later. So I was gonna do this video yesterday, decided not to. I don't know why. I did the one about the jobs. The what I am gonna go for today is more on a drug use side. But I figured that it's a good idea to throw a little PSA. I know these stories are for me, these are for my memories, but I don't know who watches them, if anybody watches them. So I think it's a good idea. I am one to believe that drugs are not bad. They're not inherently bad, and I believe this pretty much for all of them, even the harsher of the drugs. I do believe that drug abuse is bad, and that pretty much just means that people are rather bad at controlling the substances and controlling their information. People don't research what they do, they don't research what they take, and they don't research possible side effects or reasons why it could be bad for them in particular. So that being said, any kids, I know the whole you can't drink till you're 21, you can't do this till you're 18. It sounds pretty dumb. It sounds just like older people controlling your life, but your brain is actually still developing. Your prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed until your early 20s, and some of these substances can have very adverse effects. But if you play the game safely, you play it correctly, you research, and you kind of understand, you can enter a few new realms, and it's a pretty good time. So I wanted to talk about LSD. I have only tried psychedelics a small handful of times. And LSD I did maybe 3 months ago, something like that. I think whenever Memorial Day was. I did it with my, excuse me. Goddamn. I did it with my buddy. And this bracelet has to do with it. This bracelet says, you're not going to be able to read it, but it says, you can trust strangers now. It is from an Ehrlich reagent. So another, more on the PSA side, but also a bit of the story itself. We had purchased an Ehrlich reagent. There's two reagents that come into play when you're looking into psychedelics, at least that we researched. Ehrlich reagents and Marquis reagents. What the Ehrlich reagent does is it allows us to identify most of the classic psychedelics. That being like LSD, psilocybin, or mushrooms, 5-MeO-DMT. There were a few different other structures of DMT and of LSD on that list. The reagent would react purple if it encountered any of these molecules. You pretty much gummy, get out of that. You put we had LSD, so we had a tab of acid. So we cut off a corner of the tab, we put it on a porcelain plate, we dropped a couple drops of this Ehrlich reagent onto it, and we waited for it to react or not. If it did not react, then there was a chance that we could have had NBOME or N-bomb. It is another scientific chemical or science study chemical. I don't remember the proper term. Has apparently a similar effect as acid, but people have dropped dozens of tabs of acid at a time and they've been completely fine, whereas you can lethally overdose on 4 to 6 tabs of NBOME. So I didn't want any of that. I wanted to research, I wanted to understand what I had. Now you can use a Marquis reagent to further specify between what type of LSD I believe, or come on, be less blurry. So you can use it to further specify what you have, but you can't get that broad categorization of, it's not this. So we just wanted to know that we weren't taking NBOME. But with acid, there's another little phrase that helps out. If it's bitter, it's a spitter, because acid or LSD should not have a very bitter taste. Maybe the ink on the blotter paper will be a little bitter, but if the tab is noticeably bitter, it could be NBOME. It could be something that you're not trying to ingest unless for some reason you're being dumb and just popping whatever. So yeah, if it's bitter, spit it out. You can. That being said, I'm gonna drink some alcohol. Another fun molecule, I guess. I don't actually like being drunk. But we played this game right. We found a source, and we had the Ehrlich reagent. The tabs were apparently a double dose, which 100 micrograms is a single dose. Supposedly they're 200 in the States. A lot of people get away with selling 750, 100 million, so 75 micrograms as a single dose. So this double dose could have been anywhere from 150 to 200. I cut off maybe 30% of my tab so I could test it with the reagent, and my buddy took his entire tab. We also had one of our friends come over as a sitter. We had a friend come over to the house, he came a couple hours after we took it, and he sat with us, hung out with us just in case. We didn't know how things would go. I think he had done acid once. This was my first time trying it, so we didn't know like how far it would go. We didn't know what a double tap would do, and it's good to have someone you trust, to be in an environment you trust, and be somewhere that you can be relatively calm. So we did that. We had a buddy come over. We did that. We all in all, it was a fantastic day. It was a great time. It made me feel incredible. It made me feel really controlled. It made some aspects of life feel like childish, like and new again. But there were no real visual cues. There were no like trips. Like there's no like real psychedelic side to it. I don't know if that has to do with, for some reason, some sort of tolerance. I don't know if it's body mass. I don't know if it's not enough. Maybe the bladder paper was a lie and it wasn't as much as we thought. Either way, it wasn't like I plan on doing more. I plan on doing higher doses, but that's more of my own personal journey. This just wasn't that. Not complaining about it. It was a great time, but wasn't that. We now acid is a really long duration. Like any like 12 to 14 is what I've been told a lot of how long the high is, and it's extremely gradual. I was really pleased to find this out. Like it's just you're aware of your progress all the way up to peak and then all the way back down, and that was pretty neat. But after we were peaking, like around like when we were peaking, we were on the trampoline, having like a lot of control with the skills. I was already kind of sketched out with the trampoline, so I didn't like I'm just not very good if there's no skirt or a net. I just get in my head too much, and I was able to still do that. But I did some pretty well controlled cat twists that were good, and we wanted to go out to the back of the house where there's some power lines, like those big triangle, like pyramid like structures with power lines at like the top, like 50 feet or something. We want to go in the back, but we just ordered food. It was going to be in about 20 minutes. So we told our friend that was sitting that we just want him to wait in the house. Like we were already coming down by a few hours. Like we weren't out of our minds at all. And we were just going to go for about 20 minutes and be back. So we went out back, we set an alarm for 10, and we decided to walk out to one of the power lines. But I just had this feeling that my buddy was just trying to jog. Like we just had like this extra energy. So we just took off jogging, just going and going and going. We passed the tower. We ended up like making our way up to the next tower. We start climbing on that. And we can get up to, when I went back there not too long ago, it was a little shorter than we had thought. But I don't know, maybe like closer to 10 feet high. We were on like this square ring that kind of went around the triangle. So you have the pyramid, and there's every once in a while like a tier that wraps around it. Then there's X braces that kind of connect the two tiers. So we were able to get up to maybe around 10-ish feet, and we were finally comfortable enough to let go of the X brace above us. So we're just balancing, which not the greatest at heights. So it was a good challenge. But I remember we're squatting down on the beam, and we're looking down. There's a butterfly, and it was great, just kind of like dancing for us. And I believe he had walked around to the other side, and like same like squat position, not holding on, but like hands free. And he had my phone in his pants because he had 2 rows of zip up pockets. And the 10-minute alarm started going off like while hands were off and just balancing. So that was pretty scary. And but we got down. We started making our way back. We stopped at the first tower. We ended up climbing around that one a bit too. And around that 10-minute mark, we get a call from our buddy, our sitter, and he's freaking out. Like we're supposed to be freaking out. We're the ones on acid. But he's freaking out because like he has no idea like how far along the trip we are. He has no idea. Like he's never tried it. He has no idea what it feels like. He has no idea. Like he can't feel our experience, so he doesn't know if it's gonna come back, if it's gonna hit us heavy. Like he's new to all of it, and he was just trying to help us out. So it was him and his girlfriend were sitting with us, and they call us because he's freaking out, and she asked him, she's like, what's the worst that could happen? And he's like, they're climbing on those telephone poles because they've been watching that crane guy, and he's so sure that he just made a mistake and let his 2 fucking tripping buds go in the backwoods and climb on some power lines. It was really funny is when he called us in a panic, we were doing exactly that. So we had been watching a lot of James Kingston, and he's climbing these cranes, he's climbing buildings in Dubai, he's doing like some wild stuff that I would really love to do if I can eventually train my way up to that level. But yeah, he nailed it. He was so worried, and we were doing exactly that. But we were pretty safe with it for what we were climbing. We made our way back to the house, And again, we were already kind of coming down for the most part. But we got back to the house, we ate some food, and just enjoyed the rest of the night. And it's not a particularly exciting story, but it was really exciting for me more in the presence of being there. And hopefully by watching this video later in my life, I can just kind of recall the first time that I had tripped, because I plan on doing it a lot. I have no interest in doing it recreationally. A lot of people, they'll take MDMA and they'll go to a rave or a club or something. And one, that's not my scene. That's not a place that I have fun, but that's not a place that I feel particularly comfortable. And I will only do this when there's a very rare moment in my life, which is when I took mushrooms. I took it during the eclipse. When the opportunity is right, when the people that I'm with is right, and with the environment that I'm in is right. And like, to each their own. If somebody wants to use it as a party drug, I can't stop you. Try to be safe about it. I highly recommend anyone getting an Ehrlich reagent. It was fun. You kind of feel like a chemist for a bit, but you get to know a bit more about what you're taking. To the best of your ability, try to find the trusted source so you know your dose. And yeah, there are safe ways to do everything. I have no interest in things like heroin or cocaine, but I know people that do some of them, and I know that there are ways to be a functioning, thriving human and to play with these substances to get the best out of both. It's a slippery slope. It's a dangerous activity, but the drugs themselves are not harmful. It is only how humans kind of approach them. Yeah, it's a little PSA, little story about acid, and I will definitely be doing more again when the time is right and when I know the source is right. I will be kind of keeping up on this with that, because that's gonna be a pretty big part of my self journey. I think that classic psychedelics are a drug unlike any other, and I plan on exploring that realm. All right, this is Stephen French with Gummy in a Closet for episode 25 of God's Autobiography. That is a solid quarter of the way done. And it's starting to seem pretty tough. Like, I still have a lot of episodes, like ideas mapped out, but there's 75 more. I gotta start doing some shit. What I did today is a whole nother story for another day. But that's it for another time. Peace.